Good morning. So, welcome. In this video, I wanted to talk a bit about story making and how the mind is kind of telling us or explaining the world by making up stories and explaining a bit how that works and why that isn't actually accurate, but it is the way we view the world. So, okay. So first off, everything that happens is of course stimuli, such as my voice is a good example of a stimuli that goes to your unconscious mind. Firstly, and then of course the auditory sensors of the parts of the brain. Once in the unconscious mind. And when it goes to your conscious processing, it goes through cognitive models that are different for everyone. And those might be models for words, or models for language, or models for how you perceive sound. And important, these are unique, and also based on what you experienced. And through this process, we're starting to make stories about things, and that might be a story of me. Who am I? Or a story about the world, or a story about how what I'm telling you relates to yourself. And in this way, this story making is how our mind makes sense of the world. So for instance, let's say you had a bad day and you wake up and you're thinking, well, the world, it sucks, right? Or yourself, you're not any good. And that's how your mind takes the stimuli and makes it into a story, because the most important thing for your mind is the things to make sense. And it's even more important even to be negative. It could be a negative story about yourself, but that's more important than that the world doesn't make any sense, because the mind in itself is a machine that makes sense of reality. And if it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't work. So that's why it kind of it makes up these stories about ourselves. And those might be quite accurate, but there aren't the truth, and especially they're not the only story. So for instance, let's say you wake up and you're feeling sad, and you might think, well, maybe it's because no one loves me. But that's probably not true. Or maybe it's because I'm a failure. Well, it depends on what, right? But I think a more accurate way of thinking about it would be, I'm sad now because I forgot to work out for a while, or I haven't spent time with my friends, or done things that make me feel good, or maybe spend time with people who appreciate me. And of course, those are different stories, and we can tell us how many stories you want. But it's important to understand that the mind in itself always makes these stories. So, and I think for many people, when you're feeling sad, you're thinking, okay, this is how the world is, right? Or this is how I am. But it's just because your mind has to make a story. And if you're in an environment that's negative, that story is probably either going to be a negative story about yourself or a negative story about the world. So it's important to understand that isn't the truth. It's just the stories we make about ourselves. And once we understand that that's how it works, we won't ever make the mind not make up stories, because that's what it does. But we might be able to understand that there are stories and be more flexible in how we view things, to make it so it becomes more productive. To think about, okay, I'm feeling sad now. Why is that? What can I do, instead of like making up a sad story about why nothing works, everything's my fault. So I think understanding that the mind in itself is a machine that makes up stories might be a good way of viewing things. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.